Good evening, Blessing. Thank you for being my first guest on this session that I'm just starting, this segment I'm just starting on my
Oh,
YouTube channel.
okay. I feel so honored
Thank
to
you
be
so
your first.
much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, and I'm so excited to have this conversation because every time I meet with young accountants, people are like, what's the extent that an accounting career can go? What can I become by being
Mm,
an accountant? Some people even think that as an accountant, you have to work in a bank. Some people
mm,
think that you have to be an auditor. There's just so many
yeah,
narratives out there. And that's
yeah,
the essence of this session, just to showcase what accountants, what the career can look like, and
yeah.
sharing from your own experience. So I'll start by just reading your bio so that people know who you are. And
Mm,
of course, in the comment section, in the description box, you will have Blessing's LinkedIn bio. So in case you want to connect with her on LinkedIn. So Blessing Okwuofu is a senior internal audit leader with extensive experience across governance, risk management, internal controls, and assurance across various sectors. She currently heads the group internal audit function of an E&P company in Nigeria and holds multiple professional certifications, including MBE, FCE, CIE, CISE, and CFE. She's also passionate about continuous learning and professional development. Outside of work, she's known as the reading mom. Blessing reads 300 plus books every year, but that's not why we are here. Blessing, so how did you get started in accounting? Just walk us through your journey.
So it's a long story, but let me try to make it short. So long and short was in junior secondary school, I actually don't know what I wanted to do, but through guidance and counseling, I found myself in the social sciences. We call it social sciences. Some other schools would say commercial, whatever it is, the one between science and arts.
Commercial
So,
class.
and when yes, there was social sciences in my school. And immediately I got into that class, I saw my academics, just transformed. And so well, I also give a lot of credit to my teacher, then Mr. Adewale. So I fell in love with accounting, financial accounting, it was called then, and for the mathematics, right? So I fell in love with accounting. And so I knew I wanted to be an accountant. And then I was growing up in Ocean State. Most people would just say, okay, you are going to be a banker. But
Mm.
somehow I knew I did not want to be a banker for some reason. But I wasn't sure what I wanted to be. I just knew I did not want to be a banker. But then when I got into university, then we had these career fairs where we had various companies come talk to us, including the consulting companies. And then I took interest in consulting companies and I started telling everybody who cared to hear that I'm going to start my career at a consulting firm. And then afterwards, I'll branch out into the industry. And thanks be to God, I was able to get my first job with KPMG,
Awesome.
yes. So basically, that's how my accounting career started.
I think our journeys are very similar because I remember that after the JSSE, right,
Yeah,
that's the junior secondary school examination that takes you
yeah,
into SS, senior secondary
yeah,
school.
yeah.
My career counselor in school then was like, oh, you passed integrated science. I think you should go to science class. I was like, no way. I want to be in commercial class. And I remember that
Mm.
back then, if you said you're going to commercial class, yeah, like they'll just
Yes.
make you feel like you're a dullard.
The
It's some
science
serious people. You
class was for
understand?
the
Like
smart.
you have to go to
Yes.
science for you to be known as serious, for people to take you seriously. So I'm
Yes,
glad to hear
yes,
that,
yes.
our journeys are very similar. So you talked about starting your career in KPMG. What was your first role? And at that time, what did you think that your career could look like starting out at KPMG?
So to be very honest, like okay, so my journey is really so funny because I typically just have some ideas in my mind and well, I believe it's God leading me, but it never really makes sense to me until much later. So I had written the KPMG test even before I went for service. I got a call during service to come for an interview, but I was far away in Kogi State, and I had to tell them that, please, I cannot travel down to Lagos. They said, okay, give us a call when you're done with service. And after service, I called, and I was told that the available unit was external audit. And for some reason, I did not want external audit. I told them I did not want external audit.
Wow.
And then, I don't know, I'd chosen IACS, that's Internal Audit Risk and Compliance Services. I didn't know why. I just chose that. And so I then was at home for about 6 months. I was applying in other places, but no job was clicking. And I was wondering, okay, what was wrong with me? Why did I say, did I even know what they are doing in the external audit? I said I didn't know. Well, thanks be to God, eventually I got called for internal audits and compliance services. And so even it's an advisory unit, but it's of course consulting, everything is client facing. And so within that unit at that time, there were two major lines of business. The two major lines of business were accounting advisory and internal audit advisory. There were also corporate governance, risk management, but those two were the two major lines and the ones that I was placed on. I actually started with my first year, I was placed on accounting advisory services. So I was basically the bookkeeper for the clients and performing bank reconciliation, everything. Then from the second year, I was then sent to be a loan staff. So as an internal auditor in another company for a period of time. And so I just found that I preferred internal audit to the accounting advisory services. And so I just decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to focus on this. Of course, the first education was always going to be ICANN,
I can.
well, or ACCA, but I could afford ICANN then, and it was sponsored in KPMG, so it
Yes.
was easier for me to do ICANN. So I did ICANN, and then since I decided that I was going to pursue the internal auditing line, I then started my certified internal auditor certification exam. Yeah.
Awesome. I didn't know that you could tell them that you do not want auditor.
Honestly,
Audit.
I like till
That
now,
was just my first choice.
I don't even get it myself.
Oh
Then
my
I said,
God.
my story is so like I wonder at myself how like I didn't even know, like I actually knew the difference. Really, I did. But for some reason, I can't really remember what my reason was. And like I said, I actually did regret it. I was wondering, okay, what was wrong with me? But eventually it played
Worked
out well
out.
in the end.
Glad to hear that. So you talked about you starting your career in KPMG, and now you work in an E&P company. That's exploratory and production or something, right? So what was just walk us through your the key transitions in
Yes,
in
oil and
your
gas pipe. Yeah.
yes. So walk us through the key transitions. So after
Okay, so
KPMG,
personally, I've moved around a lot. So
yes.
after a while in KPMG, I felt I wanted to move out. Well, another factor was, to be honest, another factor was that I got married. Although I was working in PwC, I just felt like, okay, the two of us doing this very, very, and me, I kind of
That's
like
it.
the soft life. So, so I said, you know what, let me leave this grueling and at least go settle in within, a company and at least work within normal times. Even though KPMG was very interesting, I liked facing different clients, learning different things. I just thought at that time that it was a good time to just go into the industry. And so I moved from KPMG to Orlando Energy Resources at first. So I was as internal audit officer. I was there for a couple of years. Then Wando had divested the downstream, which had become OVH Marketing Limited. So there was an opening for internal audit supervisor. So I moved there. So it was like a promotion. So I moved to OVH Marketing Limited. And then after a few years in OVH, I then moved to Transport Services Limited as the head of internal audit. But internal audit was a unit within a larger control risk and audit, right? And at some point, the head of the department was reassigned to a bigger role. So I was appointed as the acting head of department. So I was acted, and then that gave me the opportunity to, develop my leadership skills, developing the audit plan, presenting to the board, audit and risk committee, all of that. And then when I now found the opportunity to actually be the head of internal audit, was, the full head of the department at the Pan Ocean and New Cross companies, then I applied for that. And so that acting experience was really helpful. I was then able to demonstrate that I had the capability and everything. Yeah, so that's where I am today. So yeah, so I think moving jobs actually helped me to grow quickly in my career.
You've had an amazing career, Blessing. Well done.
Thank you so much.
So your day to day, what does that look like? Like, because when I hear internal auditors, everybody in the company is afraid of internal auditors. I don't want auditors, wahala.
Yeah,
So what
yes.
does your day to day involve?
So it varies, but as the head of the department is majorly a strategic position. So I do have a lot a lot of meetings. However, on the real audit work side, so audit is basically two things: providing assurance to the board and management that the controls that they have put in place are adequate and they're operating effectively, then also adding value to the business by looking for areas where improvements are needed and recommending those improvements. So those things work hand in hand. So the year before, towards the end of the year, we make an audit plan for the next year based on the key risks that are facing the business, based on the strategic direction that the board and management is going, based on, what are the critical areas, and then also limited by the resource that we have. It's always impossible to audit every department or every process every year. So we have to make strategy decisions based on the risk and the focus, the strategy of management and the board. And so when we start an audit, we now let them understand the reason. So we have an initial meeting to explain the purpose of the audit. We want to test your controls. We want to ensure that the risks are embedded in your processes and what you're doing are adequately mitigated by the controls in place. And of course, be able to provide that assurance also to management. And where there are areas of improvement noted, then we prefer recommendations to help the business. So that's basically what internal audit does. And we are also involved in projects, just anything that involves improvement of operations, just able to help the business get better assurance that they're going to achieve business objectives. So it's support function. We say we are a business partner and we really strive to be a business partner, not the old fault finding or the police that people call us. Right. So that's basically what audit is. But for me, for my day to day, so it can vary: meetings, attending, reviewing the team's work and reports, then preparing reports to management and the board. Just had a presentation to the board audit and risk committee recently. So things like that. So it varies really.
Thank you. Now that you talk about it, it doesn't seem as bad. So maybe on a lighter note, other than people calling you police, what are some of the other misconceptions about your job? Because in my office, like, I don't want auditors, voila.
No, I know. So
It's
yes,
almost like
police.
fear.
I know.
Like,
So well, the truth is there have been some enterprises, some companies where internal audit has been used as police like that, have been used as a fault finders or I've been in an organization, I've heard of an organization where they said if the CEO says, okay, internal audit, go and visit that place. He's saying that somebody must be sacked. If somebody is not sacked, they have not done your job. So there have been those things have happened in the past, and so the misconceptions typically have some. They say in every rumor there's usually a bit of truth. So that's where some of those misconceptions are coming from. But globally, there's there's a global shift to say, no, that's not what we're here for. We're here to support the business, we support. So when we have our opening meetings, we actually tell them and say, our work is actually to help you look at your processes and see how you can be more efficient, how you can be more effective. In fact, sometimes there are some areas that you're having challenges that you may have been actually talking to management about it, but they would not take you so seriously. But once it's in an audit report, they take
Yes.
it, yeah, they take it more seriously. And many times, I have a meme on my WhatsApp status. Many times there's usually a pushback when you make a recommendation. You say, oh, okay, this thing can be improved. Somebody will say, okay, no, that's how we've always done it. Oh, no, we don't need that. But when they finally accept the recommendation and then implement it, and then adds value to the business, the department then, does an
Yes.
award. Oh, and like,
That is
they
so
take
true.
they take the glory of, oh, we innovated this, oh, we changed this, oh, we changed that. Meanwhile,
It was an audit that
audit that
prompted it.
provided that recommendation. And so, in fact, what we started doing in my department, we just started doing that is instead of just because we report on the performance of our audit plan and then we report on the status of implementation of audit recommendations. So what we started doing is instead of just saying, okay, we've closed this number of issues, we're also highlighting the control and process improvement that we brought to the business as a result of our recommendations.
That's actually a really brilliant one. So, for someone trying to get into internal audits, what skills would you say they need to look out for?
Okay, so for the technical skills, most likely an accounting or business related background, but it's not compulsory.
Yeah.
Anybody really can be an internal auditor. It doesn't really matter what you studied, but I would very much recommend obtaining the certified internal auditors certification because
Mm.
we get to understand the professional practicing standards of the Institute of Internal Auditors. So you know how you should do your job basically, and then you understand the process of internal auditing. So that foundation, I believe, is actually very important. But besides the technical skills, a lot of soft skills is required. Of
Yeah.
course, the first thing is your mindset of adding value. A mindset of there is always room for improvement.
Mhm.
Okay, what can we improve in this area? Some people may see it as some people see it as fault finding, but it's actually
Yeah.
not fault finding. It's what can we improve? How can we do this better? And to balance it out in our reports now, we say areas of good practice to comment the process so they don't feel all the
We are
faces that you
just
are
always
just picking
looking
out
for,
the areas of, but there will always be areas of improvement, right? And so that's why we're
yes.
there. So that mindset of let's add value, let's improve something is very important. Of course, interpersonal skills is very, very important because you have to be able to manage relationship
Mm.
because you can be frustrated if you do not manage relationships. Of course, in that you also need to know when to escalate.
Yeah.
You may not get some responses at all and you'll not be able to do anything. So
Right.
managing that is very important. Of course, as with any profession, communication skills, report writing skills, curiosity, yeah, all of that. So I think for me, the most important ones I would say is that mindset of continuous improvement and interpersonal skills. Yes.
Awesome. True. Because I know how I do bass boost with my auditors, both
Yeah.
internal and external. And you found, show me.
Mhm.
Let's move on now. So what has been the hardest part of your job? What has been the hardest part of your career journey? Sounds very smooth when you look at all up,
Oh, no,
but
no,
I'm sure that
definitely.
there have been some challenging moments. So if
Yes.
you could just share about that.
So generally for internal audits, I think I've alluded to it, the general challenge that, I tell people it comes with the territory is that attitude that people have towards internal auditors. And the default is people get defensive because, well, truly nobody really likes to be evaluated. So there's that defensiveness. So being able to speak to people and explain to them the value that you're bringing is very important. But I think that's the general challenge that covers every professional has challenges. So I think that's a major challenge. And then many times people say you're disturbing, and you have, I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. And so you may not be able to get information you need to do your job as quickly as you need it, because you also have a responsibility to report to the management,
Yes.
and you're waiting for your reports too within a timeline. So those are the major challenges. So I've had a lot of challenges in my career personally. When I left KPMG, I actually had not gotten a job when I resigned. Yes. So I had a performance issue actually. I
Mm,
was, have I talked about this? I'm not sure I've talked about this before, but I was not promoted from the
mm.
senior one level. I had to take that level again. And then at some point I had one issue with one manager. I just got the things I said earlier, yes. But it just got to the point where I was just like, what I'm tired of I'm tired of all this. And so I actually resigned. And well, then you have to give 3 months notice. I don't know how long it
Yes.
is now. So I did have some time to then begin to do a job search. Right. So I had that. I've spoken about even the delay I had before starting the work at all. So I've had some delays in the course of my career. And when I went to OVH, at some point I took a voluntary exit because I was supposed to resume at another company, but the other company gave me offer letter and withdrew the offer letter the same day.
Wow.
And that was towards the end of 2019. And so I said, so I'd not been applying to any
Wow.
other company because I was supposed to go to that other company. So it was just okay, let me just wait for them to give me the offer letter. So I just had to pick myself back and dust off my CV again and start applying again. And that took me into 2020. And then COVID happened, and then everybody was just nobody, people that had jobs were not. But the good thing was I started my MBA in 2019. So I basically just focused on that. So throughout 2020, I was actually out of job, which was the end of, when things started opening up towards September, October, then I started going for interviews again. And then I started work in January 2021. Yes. And then, yes. And then even I'd spoken about how the acting position, you know, gave me the leadership skills, and I was able to use that to get my current position. But the truth is, I only actually applied for the current position because I've been told I would act for 6 months. But after the 6 months, I was told that I'm going to be asked for another 6 months. And without, really conquering, I just felt okay. If you're going to extend, then it probably should be like 1 month or 3 months.
Mm.
Why are you extending for 6 months? So that's why I said I actually would not have applied. Somebody dropped the position on KPMG alumni, my unit alumni group chat. I honestly would not have applied for it at all, because I was actually, my goal at that point was to be confirmed on the role.
I
But
need
when
to
I
see
was
you
then
off
told
camera for this story.
that my acting would be extended for another 6 months. And I said, okay, you know what? Just maybe I should check out this opportunity that is coming up, and it worked out well. So yes, there have been there have been challenges along the way.
Thank you so much for talking about this, because when we see people's resume and it's so
Mhm.
shiny, we don't know what the shaggy they've seen in the back end,
Yes,
because
exactly.
nobody really talks about the challenges that they go through,
Yeah.
so
And
you've gone
it's
through all these challenges. Someone looking at your
disappointment.
CV will not be
Yeah.
able to tell. So thank you so much for sharing. I like the fact that career journeys are not linear. Like,
Mhm.
things can happen. There can be
Yeah,
highs and lows and highs, and it's
definitely.
just what makes the journey sweeter. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It's just the normal
Yeah.
course of life.
Yeah, and
So,
you always learn from failures, you learn from setbacks. You know, I look back now and I can identify some of the things that I could have done better when I was in KPMG. You get so, but all in all, I believe it still worked out for good.
yes, thank you for that. So let's talk about AI, because everybody thinks AI is coming for their jobs, right? So how is AI changing your job? Like,
Oh,
what's the
AI.
impact of AI in your day-to-day?
Yeah, so for me, I see AI as a very useful tool. And there's a quote I don't know I don't know who I can credit for that quote. It's the quote that AI will not necessarily take the job of an internal auditors, or internal auditors will not necessarily lose their jobs to AI, but they may lose their jobs to internal auditors who use AI, right?
Mm,
So for me, I believe AI is an efficiency tool. Of course, it's important to know the governance, to manage it within a governance framework. You know, what are the controls in place within your organization so that you can still maintain confidentiality, that your
right.
organization information is not, totally out there and
Yeah.
everything. But, we have been using at least versions of AI, all the analytic tools and all of
Mm-hmm.
that, all of those things make internal audits, more efficient. You can have those tools. You can even do what we call continuous auditing. You can
Right.
just, keep running a program that can just pull up the outliers that you can investigate further. So that you may not need to, for some processes, you may not need to wait until
Everything
after
is
a while
done.
before you are then
Mm,
coming to review for the past 6 months or the past 1 year. There are some things that red flags that can be thrown out and then you can investigate further, and then there's better assurance to management and the board, and there's, you're supporting process owners better because you can quickly tell them, oh, this thing is going wrong, you need to fix up this. So it's not after the thing has happened that our audit is then coming to say, oh, why did this happen? So yeah, so I believe we should integrate AI, of course, within the right governance so that we can mitigate the risk, because it comes with the benefits, but it also has its risks and challenges. So managing that together, yeah, it's important that we know how to manage that.
thank you so much, Blessing. So as we start to wrap up, um, what would be your advice to someone who wants to pursue this career path? How you're encouraging like yourself as you were starting, if you had a chance to go back in time, what would be your advice to your younger self or anyone who is watching and considering a career path in internal audit?
Okay, yeah, so I believe I was blessed with, say, mentors, coaches who helped me. And like I've said before, it's very important to have that technical foundation. If you're pursuing internal audits, the first thing you should be thinking of is getting certified. Believe me, it's very helpful so that at least you have a foundation for what you're. But I really do believe that anybody, no matter what you studied, anybody can be an internal auditor. You just need, those technical skills can be easily developed, right? So if that is what you want to do, so build your skills, develop, of course, look for people that, and it doesn't have to be like one-on-one mentoring or anything. Look for people
Yeah.
who you have done well, and just, you can follow them from afar. You can see what they're doing right and all of that, and be ready to face the challenges. Don't go into that internal day and then start complaining that, "Ah, nobody likes me, nobody likes me."
Mhm.
So have in mind that the default maybe that nobody likes you, but you can actually change the narrative. You can build that relationship. Like in my current organization, I never ever think that, oh, anybody's against me nowadays, because I understand. Even when we're going for meetings, I tell them, okay, I understand your challenges. I
Right.
know maybe you thought this is, but no, this is how we want to actually help you. And we
Mm,
also need to provide this assurance to management. It's important, management and the board. And we understand that you're very busy, so we would like to work along with you. You tell us times that you can be available. So all of those things, managing that relationship is very, very important. And I've said again, above all, the reason I really love internal audit is because internal audit is uniquely positioned, able to add value to the business as a whole. We can see as a whole from the enterprise risk management level, you can see where the pain points of the business are. You can be able to address them and add value to them. So always have that mindset that I want to add value. Don't in your mind be thinking that I'm going to show them that I'm an internal auditor. It's really not
Thank you
about
for
that.
saying that. Thank you so much for saying
It's really
that.
not about that. Yeah. I think that's it. Develop yourself, just keep improving yourself. It's very important.
Thank you so much, Blessing. I think this has really been an enlightening conversation for me personally, right? And I can imagine how much it will be for anybody listening. The fact that you can actually grow your career from internal audits. You don't have to be an auditor. Like you don't have to be like
Yeah.
an external auditor, and there's a path.
Yes.
There are
Yeah.
organizations who require people with this kind of skills. And
Oh yeah,
I
definitely.
also like that you mentioned that anybody can be an internal auditor. You don't even have to have studied accounting or any business
Yeah,
course.
yes,
And it's really about how you apply yourself. At the end of the day, it's about how you apply yourself. Nobody
definitely.
learns this thing from heaven. We all learned
Yeah,
it here,
exactly.
and
Exactly.
we continue to learn. So thank you
Yes.
so much, Blessing, for joining me today.
Thank you for
I'm going to
having me.
leave your LinkedIn link to your LinkedIn in the description. So in case you start getting flood of people reaching out to you, just know it came from
No worries.
Aramide Unfiltered. And I'm also going to leave your Instagram. There may be people who are watching who want to develop a reading habit. So guys, Blessing has
That's
a reading
perfect.
club.
Yeah.
She has a reading club and she reads a lot. You can even see from her background. Anytime she's bored, she just pick a book. Thank you so much, Blessing.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
I
Have a
did
great
too. Thanks
rest
for
of your
having me.
evening.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.